Hi everyone, Matt here, and I've got an exciting aggressive deck for you today. I've had a couple of viewers recently asking about playing a burn deck, and my first instinct was to say it's not really possible in Standard, but in doing a little digging, I was able to put something together that's actually quite powerful. So, as the name implies, this is capable of a turn 3 kill. One of the sequences that leads to a lethal damage on turn 3 is turn 1 Scorch Spitter. Turn 2, Chandra's Pyreling. This is a new card from M21. Whenever an opponent is dealt non-combat damage, it gets +1, +0, and double strike. And then on turn 3, any combination of Shock, Shock, and Skewer, or Shock, Skewer, and Skewer, is enough to deal lethal damage. Now, that's assuming your opponent has not dealt any damage to themselves, but most of the current top decks are playing shock lands, so there is a good chance that the opponent has dropped themselves to 18 before we've done any damage to them. And if that's the case, there are a lot of other combinations that allow for a potential turn 3 kill. Basically, it opens up the possibility of having a turn 3 Cavalcade of Calamity and any 1-drop to help push through enough damage for lethal. So this is a really fun deck to play, obviously hyper aggressive, just dealing as much damage to the opponent as quickly as possible. In addition to the incredibly quick possible turn 3 kills, the deck has a lot of really good synergy. Basically, we're playing all of the creatures that get pumped from non-combat damage, like Chandra's Pyreling and Chandra's Spitfire. And we can trigger that with burn spells, Scorch Spitter, and Cavalcade of Calamity. Cavalcade of Calamity in particular works really well with the Pyreling and the Spitfire, often giving multiple triggers on a single turn. And the Spitfire in particular is quite good currently, just because for all of the creature-based decks, you are able to fly over and deal a ton of damage in the air. There's not a ton of flyers currently being played in Standard. This deck lines up pretty well with the current top tier decks. Some of the best decks in post-ban Standard include Sultai Ramp and Temur Elementals, and both of those decks do really big things but are a little bit slow to get started, and our deck is able to go underneath them pretty consistently. Other top decks include Winota and Temur Clover, and in the case of Temur Clover, while it's not an easy matchup by any means, we have some nice advantages. The first being that both Chandra's Pyreling and Chandra's Spitfire have 3 toughness, so it requires more than a single stomp to take them out. And our other creatures are either 1 mana or are tokens. So if they are trading a stomp or even using a Brazen Borrower to bounce them, we're coming out ahead on that mana exchange, which is a really important thing when you're playing a quick tempo-based or aggressive deck. So I hope you'll join me on the ladder for some match play footage. Yeah, this is a solid starter. We'll keep. Got a nice curve here. We can go Dodger into Friendship, into Anax, into Cavalcade. Looks like we're up against Rule, which is not so bad, especially since we do have things like Shock in our deck. So I'm debating playing this out or just shocking the Pelt Collector here. If I play it out, I don't know if I want to attack. I think I do, because this Pelt Collector is threatening to grow. So if we're trading our 1/1 for it and it's not going to get bigger than our creatures, I'm okay. We have other things we can use to trigger Cavalcade. Now if they play something like a Scavenging Ooze, we can shock that instead. Alright, it feels like we're in a pretty good position. So the opponent playing some defense wisely. I'm leaning heavily towards just running out the Anax. Could also play out Scorch Spitter plus Cavalcade this turn. Let's just get Anax down. We'll hold off on attacking. Again, since most of our creatures are really cheap or tokens, even if the opponent is playing some removal, it kind of trades favorably for us. So I may just throw the Anax away here because it gives us an additional trigger for Cavalcade. Certainly if it had 4 power or more, I would do it to get the 2 tokens. I think for now I'm going to hold off on that plan. We can make this Anax quite a bit bigger next turn and get it up to 4 power, and it can tussle with whatever they're about to play. Alright. So we could play Cavalcade. The problem is they can just block one of the tokens pretty profitably. They still take quite a bit of damage in that case. The other option is to not play Cavalcade, swing with everybody, and then shock the Bone Crusher. If we're going to do that, we'll run out the other Scorch Spitter first. I think I'd like to use Shock on the opponent, and I don't feel like we're going to be dead even to an Embercleave next turn. So yeah, let me go ahead, run out this Cavalcade, and swing with the squad. If they want to just eat a token, they are taking quite a bit of damage from Anax. And if they block Anax, then we get even more tokens, so pretty tough spot for the opponent. So if they go land, attack with both an Embercleave, they are threatening to do 13 damage, which is totally fine. They have to swing with, yeah, so they're going to be dead here. I was gonna say if they want to activate the ability of Gallia, they've got to swing with everybody, and we're happy to see that. Okay, so second Cavalcade, attack with everybody, represents just 2 additional damage. But if we go Scorch Spitter and have Shock and Skewer up, that represents way more additional damage, so we're going to go with that line. This also plays around them killing off one of our things better. Yeah, so this is okay. One of the nice things about being the burn deck is you can push through that last little bit of damage without having the creatures punch it through. Okay, so against the Gruul deck, I think I want a combination of additional removal and ways to sacrifice the creatures they're trying to remove for value. Let's bring in the Heartfire. And 4 Redcap Melees. And a Flame Spill. Get rid of this Incinerator. Get rid of the least effective 1-drop since we are on the draw. And we got 3 more cards to cut. I'm actually going to trim the Anax. So one thing I want to be really careful of is that we have a very low curve, so if we're bringing in additional 3-drops, we should look to also cut some of our 3-drops. And we've got one more cut to make. I guess I can actually just bring in 3 Redcap Melee, since they do play a lot of non-red creatures as well. This seems fine. Certainly Redcap Melee is 4 of instant bring in against the mono red deck, but against Gruul, I think you can maybe just bring in 3 of them. It's got our namesake card, but more lands than we want to see the entire game, so we'll throw this one back. And yeah, this is a keep. Don't be afraid to keep 1-landers with this deck. And we're just farthest from being able to actually play the Spitfire, so let's throw that one back. Alright, and Fervent Champion's friend just arrived off the top. So it would be nice if we are able to hit a second land, but we can survive without it for quite a few turns. We should definitely make this a 3-3. But doesn't really save them. We're going to go ahead and play Fervent Champion and then shock the blocking Goblin after first strike damage. Now they should probably know something's up. Alright, so the opponent wisely choosing not to block there. We'll just hold up shock to see if we can find a target. Ooh, actually no. I take that back. Let's go ahead and skewer the Goblin here. Alright, interesting. So Pelt Collector Go says to me that they likely have a Stomp. So if that is the case, I think we just want to go Forbidden Friendship and swing with everybody. Oh wow, I guess they're just stuck on mana here. They probably needed a second green source to play something else. Alright, so they have two decent blockers here. We can clear out the Spellbreaker with Heartfire. And I guess we can't then shock away the Pelt Collector. I think we're supposed to swing with everybody. And then whichever one's being blocked by the Spellbreaker, we Heartfire the opponent. Since we do have Skewer in hand and Shock, I'm going to try to direct as much possible damage at the opponent here. And if they block a Fervent Champion with the Spellbreaker, we'll gladly just Shock to get rid of the Spellbreaker, I think. Alright, so we've got a couple different options. Can Heartfire this at the Spellbreaker, saving our remaining squad. I think we'll save Heartfire for our next turn though. Let's go ahead and get rid of the Spellbreaker here. And we're putting the opponent down to 7. We can also just clear their board. Yeah, let's do that. Go ahead and leave them with no blockers. Alright, luckily they don't have the ability to activate the ooze here. So we can swing with everybody and Heartfire the opponent. Yeah, let's do this. Likely they just throw this in front of the token, hoping to get value off of the activation next turn, but by Heartfiring the opponent, we will end the game before them. Alright, easy game. Alright, we're up against a Giganta deck. I'm not sure if that indicates the opponent's playing Sacrifice or possibly Winota. We'll find out though. And we want to lead with the Scorch Spitter because we want this down to activate our Chandra's Pyreling. And we can always dump both Fervent Champions on the same turn. Aha, that freebooter. Not going to be able to grab much loot. Okay, we'll go ahead and get the Castle Embereth down. And we could force through an immediate 4 damage by playing both of the Fervent Champions. Or we could play out Chandra's Pyreling and set up for next turn. I think I'm actually going to play out the Pyreling We always have the option of playing the double Fervent Champions, but the Pyreling, again, represents a ton of potential damage. Okay, unfortunately, Alcide does a nice job of protecting whatever we target with any removal spells. Let's go ahead and I think now... Alright, we'll hold off on committing for one more turn here. Go ahead and get the second Pyreling down and a Fervent Champion, and then next turn, hopefully we can Cavalcade and just push through a ton of damage. We can actually get in with the Pyreling here since they have no good blocks. Should have done this before playing everything out, but no matter. Alright. Osri's Lieutenant. Okay. It's time to push through a bunch of damage. So we can go Cavalcade, play another Fervent Champion, and then swing with everybody. Seems really good. Good game. They're not even going to let us have the fun. Alright, so it looks like they are playing Winota. Against Winota, I generally like Redcap Melee. It does seem like their version of Winota has less red creatures, but this hits actual Winota, which is pretty nice for 1 mana. Could also bring in Tibalt to stop them from gaining life off of Alcide, but that doesn't seem like their main game plan. Let's bring in a couple Redcap Melees and get rid of a couple Tin Street Dodgers. And I think the Incinerator is also a bit worse here. Let's bring in Heartfire. This is a nice versatile card. We can use it to counter removal, or we can sacrifice a token to take out something like a Winota. Yeah, we're going to keep this. I realize we only have a single land, but we have tons of 1-mana plays, and if we are able to hit a mountain, which we have 18 of, this is an incredibly good curve. Alright, no such luck. Get the Scorch Spitter down here. The alarm has been raised. There's our mountain. Okay, so we have to keep in mind they could potentially have Winota next turn. Don't think we can afford to try to play around that in any way. So let's just get the Chandra's Pyreling down. And we'll try to set up for a really big Pyreling attack. The Spitfire is one of our best cards in matches where the opponent's playing a bunch of creatures because its ability to fly over is incredibly relevant, and it can often deal lethal in a single turn. Alright, so I don't think we can afford to Redcap Melee the Loxodon, although it is at least worth considering. Our other options here would be to attack, and then if they block the Pyreling, we can shock. Let's just keep setting up here. And what I really want to do is get the opponent to commit to an attack. Ah, there's the Winota. Okay. Well, this is a good attack for the opponent to commit to. If it's not lethal, we're just going to take all the damage. Yikes, they even get to pick off our Scorch Spitter here. Alright, let's go to game 3. And seeing that, is there anything we want to change? I'm going to bring in 1 flame spell, cut an Anax, and then I want to be really proactive. So let's cut the Redcap Melees and bring back in the Tin Street Dodgers. Being on the play again, we're just going to race them. We're going to try to go underneath Winota. Alright, this is a good draw. We'll lead with the Scorch Spitter. Alright, let's get Chandra's Pyreling down here. Could offer the trade, but I'd rather pump up the Pyreling. Okay, well, that punishes that idea a little bit. Okay. Let's get our Fervent Champion down. And just swing with the Scorch Spitter. We'll hold the champion back as a way to keep Alsaid from gaining life. They have another Devout Decree. We can Heartfire something in response. Alright, so now we're getting to a point where we're going to be dealing a ton of damage just with burn. So I'm considering sending in the champion, but I don't think we can afford to just yet. And if they play Winota, we have a window where they don't have Alsaid mana up, and we could potentially just Heartfire Winota away. Alright, let's go ahead and swing with the squad here. We're like now at a point where I don't think we can hold back much more. And we can put them to 1 based on what we have in hand currently. Oh, this is wonderful. Happy to see old Loxy come down. With everybody, put them to 10. And yeah, we have lethal. Nice. All right. We got there. Alright, so let's Heartfire the opponent. We get to hit them with the champion. Heartfire the opponent again. And then we have our pick of Skewer or Shock. We're going to go for the exactly lethal with the Shock. Good game, opponent. Alright. I don't mind playing with very few lands, but no lands is a step too far. But I will keep this one. And I'm going to throw away the Spitfire. We're just too far away from getting that going. Ooh, the opponent also on a mono-red deck. This will be an opportunity to bring in our 4 Redcap Melees. Looking forward to it. Yeah, they should have not played their land before lighting up the stage for exactly that reason. Alright, and we're going to hold this back in an attempt to trade, just because we do have more resources than the opponent currently, and I think that our best bet is to drag the game out. Oh no, they've hit our Tin Street Dodger. Well, the good news is we can at least find another land here. Yeah, let's Forbidden Friendship. We can double block the Robber of the Rich. Hopefully they don't hit anything else they can play here. They've kind of evened up the resource advantage that we had. Alright. Get out of here, Robber. Okay. And now I believe we can actually start pressuring the opponent. Because we're going to land a Cavalcade of Calamity in the near future. And we should be faster than them at this point. Okay, I have to check to see if we still can't block this, right? Because a lot of our creatures do have haste. Alright, so I can go Forbidden Friendship, Scorch Spitter. I could Skewer Anax right away, get in for 3. Skewering Anax right away minimizes the potential Embercleave damage. The thing is, we're not dead to Embercleave. At least not by itself. We'd survive at 1. I'm gonna go full greed and set up for lethal next turn. So if they have Embercleave plus something like Stomp, we lose, but short of that, we're in really good shape. Alright. Excellent. Alright, let's go Cavalcade. And swing with the squad. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay, so bring in 4 Redcap Melees. We are on the draw, which means our expensive stuff gets quite a bit worse. Just gonna get rid of Anax here. And the Incinerator. We're gonna have to use most of our burn to actually kill the opponent's creatures. So while a 6/6 is tough for mono red to deal with, we're not gonna be able to land it most likely. And what else should we cut being on the draw? I guess 1 Tin Street Dodger is not great. Then we can cut both Tin Street Dodgers. And either return 1 Anax or a Flame Spill. Bring 1 Anax back. Alright. Alright, this is a keep. Get our Scorch Spitters going. This is actually a pretty sweet one. Unfortunately, they're going to start taking our cards again. Not very nice to the opponent. But we do have the ability to get a Chandra Spitfire going. And if we get to untap with Chandra Spitfire in play, there is little chance the opponent survives that turn. So we can Forbidden Friendship here. could keep back both tokens to block the robber. Yeah, let's do that. The 1 point of damage doesn't really matter here. This is going to minimize how good our Chandra Spitfire is, but it's still going to be incredible, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so they're going to hold back the robber. That's even better for us. Oh, they're not. Alright, so if we double block, next turn we play out Spitfire. It's going to take a couple turns to have lethal with that. If we don't block at all, we're dropping to 13. And they could potentially steal another card next turn. That does put us likely dead to Embercleave. I'm gonna... You know what? You only live once. We're gonna set up for the huge Spitfire turn. And hope for the best. Alright, they didn't instantly swing with everybody, but they did manage to Redcap Melee away our Spitfire, which is pretty bad. Alright, the Pyreling at least is too expensive for them to currently play. Just trying to see. To Forbidden Friendship plus Cavalcade next turn. Could chump block here. Yeah, I'm gonna try to set up for a really weird race. So I can also Scorch Spitter, chump block Anax again, Cavalcade the turn afterward. I like that. So now we definitely have lethal next turn. We just have to survive for one more turn. And if they want to draw a card, they do need to actually play out both of these cards pre-combat. Alright. So if they have Embercleave, there's no way we survive. So make sure we don't die to anything other than Embercleave. I mean, this puts us to 5. Yeah, that should be okay if they don't have Embercleave. They had Embercleave. Okay. On to game 3. And being on the draw, let's bring those on the play, let's bring those 1-drops back in. And get rid of... Don't really need Anax. Maybe 1 Heartfire can go as well. Just want to be as proactive as we possibly can, but the 4 Redcap Melees are too good a value to give up, so gotta keep those in against mono red. Alright, this is super solid. We go Champion into Forbidden Friendship, and then we have Cavalcade coming down shortly after that. Ooh, the Pyreling is even better. Alright, let's attack first. Play out the Pyreling. Alright. This is going to be really bad for the opponent as long as we untap with the Pyreling, which we did. Okay, so we could Cavalcade right away, getting in a ton of damage. Or we could push our luck for one turn, go Forbidden Friendship, and next turn Friendship plus Calamity. Yeah, let's push our luck for a turn. This just gives us an enormous turn 4. And it's pretty hard to imagine that they can do enough to interact with us to stop it. They have to kill the Pyreling here. That is non-negotiable, yeah. So Anax usually good, but not in this situation. Oh, and they're going to attack. Opponent, you don't know what's about to hit you. This is the biggest Pyreling that's ever been seen. And they've seen enough. Alright. Gotta love playing Burn. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I encourage you to play some standard Burn with this turn 3 kill deck, and I'll see you in the next one.